Shalom, I'm Rabbi Shaul Praver. Welcome to Rabbi Rock. My subject today is religion and the cartoon effect. You know, religion works. People join temples, people join churches, people join mosques. It doesn't matter what religion it is, it works. People somehow feel inspired through a service, through a series of prayers, meditations, through an inspired speech. Whether it's the endorphin levels that are elevated through participating in a service, who knows? But we know that a lot of people find that faith is important in their lives. Back to the original title, Religion and the Cartoon Effect. Religion is good. It makes people feel safe, cared for, loved. But religion has its dangers, such as fanatical religion, and things like I am the way and the only way and there's no way to salvation other than through me, Christianity. Islam, I am the last prophet, there's no other revelation after me, you have to be Muslim or die. That's pretty fanatical. Or people might argue in the Jewish faith, you know, we are the chosen people. Perhaps they would argue that instills a sense of superiority. So religion is good, but fanatical religion is not. And I call it the cartoon effect because when a person is inspired by their religion, and they love their religion, and they believe their religion, they feel in a sense that they're real. What they do is real. They've got the truth, the monopoly. And everybody else is missing the boat. Everybody else is like a cartoon. They're not quite as real. And this is a certain arrogant quality that I'm sure every one of you have observed with the newly reborn, or it doesn't even have to be with religion. Anything, any new thing that a person discovers, sometimes they become fanatical and feel that everybody else has to believe and do the same things. So what is the solution for the cartoon effect? We see it in the world to a large extent. What's the solution? The solution is take the best from your religion and leave the rest behind. And I'm going to make a statement which is kind of radical and I would say in the area of reform. And that is that God is perfect, but man is not. And those two characters, God and man, are found in all of our sacred scriptures. Whether it be the Torah, whether it be the New Testament, or whether it be Islam, there is man's fingerprint in there also. And as we move into the modern age, I think we develop the critical thinking abilities to be able to read a sacred text and to be able to decipher what's holy, what's sacred, what should be emulated, what should be taken full hook, line, and sinker into the soul, and which part is the work of man, the work of less noble goals. We have to all liberate our minds, give ourselves the permission to think. There's a certain term called heresy and heresy would close the door on me from saying what I'm saying. But in a modern age, we have to liberate our minds, be able to embrace the questions, deal with these things. So here it is. I don't believe that God commanded Abraham to slaughter his only son, or his youngest son, Isaac. I don't believe that chain of command came from God. I believe that is the imprint of man. I don't believe that God has commanded Muslims to slaughter the infidels. I don't believe that God has commanded Christians to burn Jews at the stake. I don't believe it. I don't believe that God is the God of genocide. And as we go forward, the world is going to continue on. We're going to get to the 2000th year. We're going to get to hopefully the 3000th year of humanity, of civilization. Something is going to change. We're going to reach a post-religious era where what I'm saying is embraced, and we're able to take all the good from our respective faiths and leave the bad behind. You're watching Rabbi Rock. Once again, we're here with Andrew Bostom, an MD, a doctor, the author, or the editor of The Legacy of Jihad, and we're very privileged to have him here to tell us about his book and his work. Welcome once again.
Nice
Shalom.
to be here again.
Rabbi sometimes talk too long. So the rest is yours, and I thought we'd pick it up with the Andalusian utopia.
Yes, this is a persistent myth. We see it, the myth essentially is that somehow there was this symbiotic civilization in Spain, the Iberian Peninsula, and that Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived together as equals and in harmony and produce important works of philosophy and art and architecture, et cetera, et cetera.
One big happy family.
Yeah, yeah, and couldn't we go back to that state? And you know, of course, the nexus being Islam really is at the core of this myth. And in fact, what I described earlier in terms of the jihad conquests and the imposition of Islamic law applies fully to the conquest of the Iberian Peninsula, which was exceedingly violent, and the imposition of Muslim law there was no more ecumenical than it was anywhere else. As a matter of fact, one of the schools of Islamic law that was followed in North Africa and Spain, the Maliki school of law, it was stated quite clearly by perhaps our greatest 20th century historian of Muslim Spain, Évariste Lévy Provençal. He said that by the end of the 8th century, this ossified the status quo and made conditions for non-Muslims there just as oppressive as they might be elsewhere in the Muslim world. In addition to which, there was really a very strict hierarchy in Muslim Spain. At the top of the pyramid would be the Arab Muslim conquerors. There were other waves of jihad followed by tribes from North Africa, also Muslims, but Islamized Berbers. They were below the Arabs. And then, of course, at the bottom of the pyramid were the dhimmi, were the conquered Jews and Christians. So this was no different than how situations played out in other parts of the Muslim world. When we look at what serious historians have said about the status quo, I turn to another great 20th century historian, Charles Emmanuel Dufourcq, who died in 1982, and I have the privilege in this book of translating some of his material from French into English for the first time. And I'd like to read an excerpt from Dufourcq, which discusses here specifically the religious and legal discrimination that the dhimmi suffered.
Yeah, let's hear.
A learned Muslim jurist of Hispanic Christian descent who lived around the year 1000, Ahmed ibn Sa'id ibn Hazm. He was father of the famous jurist Ibn Hazm, who, by the way, wrote a treatise on jihad, and there's a discussion of this also in the book, where Ibn Hazm says that the only reason that Allah created the infidels was to serve as booty for the Muslims. But his father gives glimpses in several of his juridical consultations of how the freedom of the infidels was constantly at risk.